Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you a flip through of Saxon Math 7.6. My oldest daughter has been using 7.6 now for about a month and a half, and I thought I need to do a flip through. I'm also going to link some videos down below where I did flip throughs of Saxon 5.4 and then a comparison of Saxon 5.4 to Horizons 4. So if you're interested in seeing all of the math things, make sure you check out some of those videos as well. I'm gonna flip the camera around and give you guys a look into Saxon Math 7.6. Okay guys, as I said before, with Saxon Math 7.6, you're gonna get 3 books, and this is your Saxon Math. I'll call this the student lesson book. It has your lessons in it. We'll flip through that in just a second. And then you're going to have your test and worksheets book, and then you will have your solutions manual. So let's start with, I'm going to move these. Let's start with the lesson book. When you open up your lesson book, it's going to give you the table of contents, which shows you everything that your child will be going over, all the lessons, and then they have investigations. Investigations are an opportunity for your child to dive deeper into whatever the subject matter is, and it usually provides a hands-on component to it as well. So you go all the way through, and that's how all of it is done. There is an investigation every 10 lessons. Then you get into a letter from the author, the Saxon philosophy, which it is incremental development, which means that the topics build upon each other, take smaller steps, and then the next time they may add on a different step, and the next time they add on another step to really help your child be able to grasp the concept that they are learning. It also has continual review, and this is the spiral approach that Saxon Math has. And here it talks about the program components. So you have your textbook, which is the books that we're going through right now. You have your test and worksheets, your solutions manual. The program overview. This portion tells you exactly how you're supposed to do each lesson every day and how they're lined out. There are 120 lessons, and it says they're divided up into 4 sections. So you have your lessons, and within each lesson, you're going to have a warm-up, which they say takes 10 to 15 minutes. Then you have your new concept, which is your 5 to 15 minutes. Lesson practice, 5 to 10 minutes. And then your mixed practice is anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. The mixed practice section has anywhere from about 25 to 30 problems, depending on what lesson your child is in. So if you add all of this up, you're looking at roughly about an hour or a little bit over an hour for a math lesson for your child in Saxon. Then you have the investigations and you have your test. There are 23 tests within here, and then like I said, every 10th lesson there is an investigation, so there are 12 investigations within this curriculum. How to get help. There are options for you to go onto the website. There's also Nicole the Math Lady. Nicole the Math Lady goes through the lessons with your child, which is awesome. So here is your list of materials, and it suggests these materials. It actually starts with lesson number 7 and suggests things that you would need for each lesson. Not much here. That's one of the great things about Saxon. It doesn't require you to have a whole lot of different like manipulatives if your child is really not into that type of learning. And then you hop right into your lesson. So for example, here is the warm-up. The warm-up is usually mental math. It has fact practice on there where they do a fact practice sheet, and I'll show you that in just a second. Then it has their mental math and then problem solving, and that is the setup for every warm-up option. Down here, if you see, there's a sign right here. It says, for instructions on how to use the warm-up, please consult the preface. It talks about exactly how to use the warm-up right here. Okay, so they have fact practice, they have mental math, and then problem solving, and it goes through all the details. This is very self-explanatory. When you read this, you'll know exactly what your child is supposed to do. Let's go back to the lesson. Then you have your new concept, and this one is adding whole numbers and money. This is honestly a review. I've talked about it before, but my daughter is like on lesson 47, and all of it was review. She tested up to that specific lesson. I'll show you here in just a moment. But this is all review. Then it gives them examples and solutions, multiple examples and solutions here for this. Then they go into lesson practice, and this is where it's not a graded portion. They get to go through the lesson here and work a few problems out, and then they have their problem set. So here, the problem set is 25 questions. I will show you later on in the book, but as you progress, when you see these numbers here, there will be a smaller number underneath, and that is telling you exactly what lesson it came from. Obviously, this is the first lesson, so all of these 25 questions came from within this specific lesson. That is how your lessons are set up. You have your fact practice, your mental math, and your problem solving. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of color to it. It's just basic in looking, and it really gets the job done. I love the spiral approach. So here we are again. Here is the numbers here. So question number 7 comes specifically from lesson number 1, whereas question number 13 comes from lesson number 2. You will see this throughout the curriculum as your child progresses. So let's move to an investigation. Here is investigation 1. Every 10 lessons, there is an investigation. So this one focuses on frequency tables, histograms, and surveys. It goes through the needed material here, and then your child goes into answering questions. Can you tell from this frequency table how many of Hannah's tests had 20 correct answers? Why or why not? So they're making your child really explain. This helps them to dig into it, because they can say, yes, I can tell, or no, I can't, but why? Why can you tell, or why can you not tell? I think that's awesome. Answer those 4 questions. Then there's more explanation for histograms, and then problems set 5 through 7 are for the histogram questions. You'll go through, and this talks about surveys, all the information, and then lesson or problems 9 through 12 are for surveys. Then you have an extension portion of it. It says conduct a survey to determine the favorite foods of your family and friends. If you choose to conduct a closed option survey, determine which food choices will be offered, what will be the size of the sample, and how will the data gathered be by the survey be displayed. So this is additional work for your child to do. This really helps them to understand how surveys work, histograms, and frequency tables. This is the investigation portion of it. Then they go further into the lessons. So I want to hop down to another lesson. Let's go a little bit further. Here we are. This is lesson number 14. So you're going to find these numbers within every single mixed practice. And they call it mixed practice because it's just that. It is a mix of the previous lessons and the new concept that you learned within this lesson. So question number 8 is from lesson 9. Question 7 is from lesson 11. Now this is lesson 14, so that gives you an idea. Now let's go through and see how many of these questions are actually from lesson 14. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Now we're at 30 questions as well. 5, 6. So of the 30 questions, there are 6 of them that are actually from lesson number 14. The others are all from previous lessons. You will find that throughout Saxon Math. They work on a spiral approach, new concepts, and then going over old ones as well. So if we move on to the mixed practice for lesson 15, I want to count how many questions came from lesson 14 again. So we have 1, 2, 3. This is from 10 and 14. And then, are there more? Let's see. 4, 5. 5 of the 30 questions are from the previous lesson, lesson 14, and then the rest of them are from lessons 1 through 13. So, and then 15, obviously. There's questions in here from lesson 15. So that is how Saxon Math is set up when you go through. As you keep going, I'm going to take you guys to the lesson where my daughter had to then start doing actual lessons. And this was lesson number, I believe she started with lesson number 47. So she tested all the way up to here, and she did not know how to do pi and circumference. So she started with this lesson, and we went over it, and she has a really good understanding. But this is where she started for the school year with lesson number 47. So she would go from lesson number 47 all the way through 120. I talked about this in a planning video, and I will link that video down below. But this is how we do our math curricula. I knew that she did not know anything about pi, and so for her to take the test, which I will go and show you in just a moment, would mean that she would have missed all of the questions about pi, and I did not want to do that. I'm not exactly sure how many questions were on this specific lesson. However, I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to skip over it. And so now she will go into subtracting mixed numbers with regrouping, which I believe it's something that she knows how to do, but we will just go through it. I'm going to go back to the front of the book because I want to share with you guys. A lot of people do this in the Facebook group that we are in, and Saxon does advise against it, obviously, because I would think that it would maybe call into question how effective their program is. It says here, remember, solve every problem in every practice set, every problem set, and every investigation. Do not skip problems. With honest effort, you will experience success and true learning that will stay with you and serve you well in the future. They do not want you to skip lessons. Some people will do the even numbers on even days, and then they will do odd numbers on odd days. Or they may do it lesson wise. Like this is lesson 8, which is an even number. So they would go through and do 2, 4, 6, all of the even numbers all the way up to 30. Or lesson 9 is an odd day, and so they would then go through and do the odd numbers. Some people do it that way, and some people do it by the day of the week. If it is the 31st of August, then they will do all of the odd numbers. If it is then the 2nd of August, or September, I'll say the 2nd of September, then they will do all of the even numbers. But Saxon really advises you against doing that. Because they have the spiral approach set up the way that it is, there's a possibility that your child could miss something. So that's a big thing, I think, for them. When you get all the way here to the back, there is a glossary, which I think is awesome. I have my daughter go to the glossary often. I'm going to show you guys a supplemental practice as well. But I have her go to the glossary. If she is in a lesson and that concept was not introduced in the lesson, and it asks her a question for a word that she doesn't understand, I have her go back here to the glossary, and it's pretty extensive. There are quite a few words here. So we're talking, the glossary is from page 693 all the way to page 724. That's quite a few pages of glossary. And then you get into your index, where you can find specific concepts that you may be looking for your child, where those are introduced, and go directly to those concepts. Now I'm going to go back just a little bit, and I'm going to show you that at the end of this, they have additional topics and supplemental practice. This is awesome. Roman numerals is the first thing. It's actually, I believe, the first thing that is in the previous level as well. Something about Roman numerals. But here's supplemental work, and they have lesson practice for you. Supplemental practice problems for selected lessons. Not every single lesson has supplemental work. So unfortunately, if your child needs help in a specific area and they don't have supplemental work for it, you'll have to find that somewhere else. But they give plenty of problems. Lesson 1, this is lesson 2, set A and set B. Multiplying and then dividing. It goes all the way through here. So then it starts to skip around to different lessons. I'm going to go, because I haven't done it already, and I'm going to go and look and see if there is supplemental work for the lesson that my daughter started on in Pi. There is not. It skips over that. And so here, that's lesson 47. So they do not have anything for lesson 47. There may be something later on that it does cover that, but as of right now, I do not see anything. But you will find lesson practice, supplemental work for specified lessons within the curriculum all the way to the end. So here we are at 117, and then there's lesson 119. Okay, this is your textbook, is what I call it. Now let's go into the test and worksheets. When you open it up, it's going to give you fact, practice, test, and activity sheets. And it will tell you, use with lesson 1, page 13. And this is the entire contents at the beginning, telling you exactly what to do. So here's your introduction, questions or information about the fact practice, activity sheets, about the test, and about recording. These are the fact practice tests. You are to do them in a 5-minute time span. And then it tells you, like, if your child misses so many, go back. It's a warm up. It's all a part of the process. Okay. So rapid recall of facts. 64 addition facts to be used with lesson number 1. And your child put their name and how much time it would take them to do it. And it tells you at the top which one to use it with. There's also, as we get into the investigations, usually you have an investigation, then you go into a test. And so this one is to be used with test 1. So even though your child is taking a test, they are still going to go over their fact practice. And it goes through this the entire way. There's also an activity sheet. So activity sheet, and this is to be used with lesson number 18. So I'm not exactly sure what lesson number 18 goes over, but this looks like graphing. So test scores on a line graph. So your child will be learning how to line graph. Numbers chart here. This is activity sheet number 2 to be used with lesson number 19. And then we have this for investigations. Activity sheet number 3, use with investigation 2. So this would be the hands-on portion that your child would have. They would probably cut this out and do some form of activity with it. My daughter did not do the investigations. And this is also investigation number 2. All of these are for investigation number 2, which is really cool. So then as you see, now we're progressing to multiplication facts. And then we go back to subtraction facts. Then there's division facts. I'm going to go back one page. Here's measuring angles. This is investigation number 3. Really nice. So they use a protractor with that one. Here we are with 30 facts to reduce. They still get 5 minutes and they reduce these fractions and they put the time on there. Going through all of these, this is some of the work that she's already done. This is where we picked up, and this was lesson 48. So she's completed lesson 48. She will keep going forward. And so that is all through the book. This is where you have all of your tests. Ooh, liquid measurement. Okay, fact practice. And this is linear measurement. I said liquid. Linear measurement, and this is to be used with lesson number 81. I did see liquid measurement. Yes, I did. These, so lesson 82, lesson 83, and it will tell her in reference where she's needs to find it. So I'm going to go here to lesson 84 to show you all. All right, so here is lesson 84. Within this lesson, it's going to tell her that she needs to do something with her book because this is fact practice. And they're supposed to go through and do fact practice for every lesson. But it says use linear measurement test K. And that is what is right here. So she will know exactly what it is that she's supposed to do for that specific lesson because Saxon is going to tell her that within the book. That is one of the things that I absolutely love about Saxon Math is that it does direct you. It is very easy to follow. Going through further, there's lots of options for different activities. And this is actually more than what she experienced with Saxon 6-5. So I'm excited about this. All the different measurements. Here's another one. This is an activity sheet for investigation number 11. Scale model. It's awesome. Let's go further to the back. Different activity sheet for investigation number 12, and that is the last investigation, and then we get into test. It tells you your testing schedule. So you're going to administer test number 1 will be given after lesson 10, but it only covers material up through lesson 5. As you move forward, test number 2 covers material up to lesson 10, but it is to be given after lesson 15. Here are the test sheets. My daughter does not write on these. She doesn't use this at all. She goes through and answers the question on a test sheet that I'm going to show you guys, but she does not write on these. There's not even any room to do so. But another thing, even on the test, Saxon is going to tell you which lesson it came from. So we're looking at questions all from lesson number 2, some from lesson number 5. So it's going to tell you, so you'll know if your child gets it wrong, you know exactly what lesson to go to be able to find the correct answer. So that is all of your tests. And then we're going to go back a little bit further. And I'm going to show you all recording forms. There is a form A, B, C, D, and E. Fact practice is recording form A. Then you have your lesson worksheet, form B, mixed practice solutions, form C, your scorecard, form D, and then your form E is your test solutions. We do not use all of these. However, fact practice score sheet, we don't use. It's good to use. You keep track of the time that it takes for your child to do it and the score and all of that, but we just don't use it. I just let her do the fact practice and we move on. And then this is the lesson worksheet. She does use these because her fact practice, she puts on here the test, the time, and the score that she made, all of her mental math answers, her lesson practice answers, and working those all out. And then I'm going to flip over. And then here is your mixed practice solutions. So anything that she's doing in the mixed practice section, let me show you that in the textbook again. Mixed practice, she's going to work that out in these squares right here. All of these questions, and it goes all the way up to 30, so there's plenty of space for him to do it. The scorecard, we do not use this either and keep track of her tests and the days that she took them. And then test solutions, she uses this specifically only for the test when she is taking those because there's not enough room on the test sheets. Okay, that is the test and worksheets booklet. Now let's take a look at the solutions manual. You're going to have your lessons and investigations, your appendix, then you'll have your supplemental practice, fact practice, and then your test. it just starts with lesson 1, the warm up, then problem solving, your lesson practice, all here. And then you go into lesson 2, you have lesson practice, then you have your lesson mixed practice. It gives you solutions to all of the problems, pretty self-explanatory for the most part. And then you can always find where that question is located within previous lesson within the actual book itself. And this is all of your tests. There's also answers for the lesson activity that comes along with the specific lessons as well. Here's investigation 1, questions and answers to investigation 1, all through here, and then you go into lesson 11. So your investigations are mixed right in with the mixed practice answers. Let's go all the way back here. The tests are actually in a separate section. So this is solutions for appendix topic. So we have topic A, and then we have our supplemental practice. And those are all the supplemental worksheets. This is all the answers to those. Then we will get into the fact practice test and the answers to all of the fact practice. And then you get into your test to answers as well.